My mouth is watering because there's just one game to go before the lunch break here from New Orleans. This is round four. We're going to feature Brad Whitmarsh and Chris Lipe. Matt Canik on the headset, joined by Nits. And Nits, you're pretty familiar with these players, right?
Absolutely. I've played both Brad and Chris Lipe. Chris most recently at Hood River just last year when he absolutely obliterated me. He got a double down. It was horrible, and I still haven't recovered.
What was a double double?
I think it was Ordalian or something like that.
Of course, you remember. Everybody remembers the painful moments in Scrabble. Hopefully, no painful moments here, just a great game. Let's get these players underway. Brad and Chris, I am having a muffaletta delivered for lunch, and I'm going to be thinking about that all game. But we'll also focus on the words and the players in this one.
Brad's been doing really, really well in the last few years, has really shot up on the rankings. So I'm excited to see Brad here at the top and, here on table one to be able to be commentated and streamed. We
Sideways eye,
do
sideways
see,
eye.
yeah, okay. We're not really looking forward to seeing those two eyes, but maybe we can get something out of it. Perhaps a nice bingo to start us off with, but
Nope.
no, not this time. That appears to be an F, I believe.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be mad if like Finny or Faine Fane came down. Just feel like, you want to get rid of one of those eyes, get rid of the F. You don't want either of those tiles. Or, we could see an Austin Shin style, just IF come down. What do you think, Matt?
I would play the five, Faine here. Some players, when they see those double I's on their rack, they want to play an I dump immediately. So FINI is an option that might happen, but 24 points is a lot. I would play the five if I know it and if I'm confident on the hooks. I don't want to play
Absolutely.
FAINE if I'm not confident on the hooks, and there are many in CSW.
Ooh, all right. Well, maybe if Fane comes down, it'll be the turning point here, knowing or not knowing the hooks. It does take a D, an R, and an S in the back. And with players of this caliber, I wouldn't be surprised if they did know the back hooks. And I think with the positioning of the tiles, Fane is coming down good on Brad. Moving on to Chris with the other H and two R's and two O's.
All
Thoughts
right.
on this?
It's a word knowledge check turn here for Chris Lipe. I think one option is pretty superior to anything else. Does you know the five letter HOORD plays as a four overlap either above or below Fane? It's got to be that if he knows the word. So let's check how many words Chris has looked at recently. If he's studied hordes of words, then he'll know this alternate spelling of horde.
Okay, that one got a chuckle out of me. So you know what? You're you're on top of your game for this one. We are, of course, leaving for lunch right after this, so don't go anywhere. We will be back. But for now, we've got Chris looking at his tiles, see if he's gonna play HOOR, which is Hoor, or he's gonna tack that D onto the end of it for Horde for 24 points. I would love to see the D go down. I'd love to see him get the 24 points and make this a fun game for us.
There is a cool word, a couple cool words. I'll enlighten the folks at home. Everybody likes learning a word on stream, right? Plays down to the A in Fein. There's a DHOORA, which is one of about 1,000 spellings of alternate spelling of sorghum. But there's also rhodora, RHODORA, which is a type of shrub. Sometimes when you see those words, you just want to play them because you don't get to play them very often, and they're cool words. But you've got to take the stack here. Technically, the right play is to play defense here. So being boring
Yeah.
and playing horde.
I agree too. I don't think Chris is has any reason to necessarily open the board up right now. I feel like if he was going to, place some tiles out in space, something like RHO row, making feigner would make sense. But Verdora would be really cool to see on the board. I just don't feel like it would be the optimal move here. So, I hope Chris is able to come up with a decision soon. We see him considering his tiles. Maybe he's trying to find a double double. I feel like that could be one of his considerations here, but he's going to find out pretty quickly that there isn't one for him. Unless, of course, if he's thinking of Hadron, Hadron, Hadron for 20 points, keeping OR.
Nope, don't keep O's. Don't ever keep O's. You got to play Dura if you're going to play with the A.
Well,
Hadron's a cool word. Hadron colliders help us discover a lot of things, but can't keep O's.
if you're going to keep the O, you better be pulling an Austin Shin with his airy play, keeping OX to go over on the side of the I.
Yeah, as long as you have a good plan for those O's. But if your plan is trying to bingo next turn with an O, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Scrabble 101.
I wonder here what Chris is thinking about. So he's got to see the overlaps, and he's okay. I see. He's putting
Mm.
down Hadron. Um, he must have seen the HOOR overlap. I think maybe he's just miscalculating the equity here. Perhaps he's just overvaluing that O.
Yeah, he played Hadron, and now Brad's turn is, I think, a lot simpler. He's got an H and a Y, and Harry plays alongside Hadron for 39 points. It does put a Y in space, but man, 39. That just, I don't know.
I think that's a really easy and good play to make. I think just statically, that would be the first thing that I spot. But upon more consideration, perhaps something like Aya, Ayah, which is a nursemaid, I believe, in Hindi, or is it Urdu? I can't ever tell the difference between the two languages, my friends. But Aya, I think, would be a slightly better play. I think just scores pretty well, scores eight fewer than Harry does, but I really like that leave. I think that would also be a really good play here.
Yeah, it's a nice option as well, and I'm certain those are being deliberated in Brad's head right now. Aya, Harry, and see just seeing if there's anything else out there too. Aya does have the nice. It holds the R back, and the R for the feiner hook in the future could be something he wants to think about. So Aya is also a nice play, well spotted. I think either one of those is perfectly justifiable here from Brad.
What'd be really interesting though is if he sees Harry, but also sees that he can play through the R of Hadron. So that Harry is 27 points, which is 12 fewer than the other Harry. I don't think that's a better play, but that would be interesting if that is what Brad decides to go with, just so that he can keep that R back. In which case, if he wants to keep and hold on to that R, it's so much better for him to play Aya. What do you think, Matt?
I would have played Harry as soon as the board spun my direction, but I don't know points. I would score points, but I is good. EIR synergizes well with the shape of the board and the floaters on the board. I think we're gonna play Harry
Interesting.
here.
Okay, so I see like the decision is to kind of value keeping that R on the rack, and I think that that makes sense. You know, you want when you see AE, you want to keep the R. You know, you're gonna bingo more with it. I understand like the reasoning behind this. I think just Harry, the other one, or Aya would have been slightly better here, but I, I think we could just see and move on um, to Chris's turn, who I think had a. Did he have a bingo?
No,
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 he did not.
no, no.
Okay.
That's someone was thinking it, but the chat just led us astray here. I did talk about this word last game. If you have Vrau, you probably play Vrau, and indeed that seems to be coming true. Vrau and Feiner, just the slam dunk right option here. Here it is.
And Chris sees it. Fantastic. I love that he didn't take too much time. I love that he's pressing his clock and moving on. That's exactly what he needs to do. Don't take too much time on plays like these. You've got clunky tiles, get rid of them. And Brad's drawn into a blank with a leave of AER. What is he going to be able to do here? Well, he's got three possible bingos. I believe all three are going to be 8-letter words. See if you guys can spot at least one.
Yeah, a little bingo puzzle for everybody. A bingo puzzle here for Brad, and he's gonna do his paperwork, get everything checked off, and then solve the bingo puzzle here for us. We won't spoil anything yet up here in the booth. I am getting word from our production team that during the lunch break of this tournament, we're not gonna pull the stream down. Instead, we're gonna be streaming the finals of a school Scrabble tournament going on here, is my understanding. I don't have all the details just yet, but even more Scrabble for everybody hanging out with us. You're not going to have to go Scrabble list for 2 hours during our lunch break. There will be more entertainment for you. So details coming soon.
You love to see it.
You love to see it. We were both school Scrabble kids, right, Nits?
I played Scrabble in India quite a lot, and I didn't even move to the States until I was an adult. So I don't necessarily think I played school Scrabble in like the American sense as much as I did the World Youth Scrabble Championships. Those were fun. Those were always a great time. Um, but yeah, I mean, school Scrabble, it's so different from adult Scrabble. You really see some incredible plays from youths that you think, they shouldn't know these words. And at the same time, sometimes you see some really, really creative plays that you wouldn't expect. I don't know, you wouldn't expect to see come down. I think the way that the board mechanics develop when you're seeing a school Scrabble game is just it's so different and it's so interesting. I think it really changes the way that you commentate, the way that you think about the game. I love
It's,
the freshness of it.
it's fun to watch, and the energy and the enthusiasm instead of just lamenting blanks and stuff. It's fun. Yeah, we'll have fun. Stay tuned. I'm
All
gonna go
right.
eat tacos, but they're gonna have fun.
So Brad has this blank, which I mean, which has also come with a few heavier consonants. The thing is, there is this N just floating on the board, the N in feigner, and I think if you see the G and you see the N on the board, you're kind of wanna, you kind of want to make that blank an I before. I mean, yes, you want to iterate through the tiles and like see what the letter could be to get you a bingo, right? But I think like one of the easier ones to spot would be something like M pairing, which chat has already spotted. You just make that blank an I and you see the rest of your letters and you see, okay, does this make an ing bingo? In this case, yes, it does. However, it starts with a vowel, and I think that would make it harder to see. The other two bingos, chat has also already spotted grapheme through the H of Harry, and that would score 69 points. That would be a good play for Brad if he's able to see that. That one's a pretty hard find, though.
I don't know that I'd even bingo on this turn. Both of those are tough to spot. M pairing, EMPARING, a Collins only word, a weird spelling of impair. So, I mean, you probably know that word if you're Brad, but you could miss it. And grapheme is really tough to spot. That's just that I wouldn't think to make or play through that H at all. So, these are both tough to spot.
That's
Brad's a strong player. He's likely seen both of these words before, but it is tough to spot these.
that's a really good point. And you know what? Even if the bingo doesn't come,
Oh,
oh wow,
great.
never
Okay.
mind.
Yeah. All right. I'll
Yeah.
stop.
I was gonna
Sorry for
say
doubting you, Brad.
no, but I mean you were right. Like even if a bingo doesn't come down, there are still strong plays here that maybe they're not gonna score as much as a bingo, but they could still leave a blank behind and wouldn't be terrible, horrible mistakes. There'd be mistakes, but not the worst kind. So this is going to give Chris a place to play. He has some incredible tiles on his rack. This is exactly what he
Yeah,
wanted to
one
see.
second. Good job, Chris. Diastral, the double double, easily his top
Nice.
play. Just wow, solid, rock solid. Great.
Nice and quick. You love to see it. Both players waiting to draw tiles. This is how this game has now developed. I'd love to see where it goes. We are currently Brad at 118 points and Chris Lipe at 130 points. So you can see that this is a pretty neck and neck game. There's no, I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like we can clearly tell who might be coming out on top on this? Because I don't really know. I feel like it's still up in the air right now.
Oh, great game. Great game. Who has any idea? Yeah, I mean, close to 50-50 and as close to 50-50 as you can be, basically. Brad down 12, but Brad on turn. All kinds of stuff could happen.
Absolutely. I'd
Buckle
love
up.
to see what comes out of that bag if these players. Oh, Chris has drawn well. Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, and a cute.
Nits,
I've
you're
done it
learning.
again.
You have power with the headset. You know that. Wield it for good, not for evil.
Well,
Stop.
okay, fair, fair. You wielded it for good for David Weekend. You have to teach me how to wield it for good for the others because I obviously don't know yet.
You learn from this, Nits. What did you learn?
I've learned never to comment on anyone's draws ever again. I am so sorry, my friends. I'm so sorry to have done this to Chris Lape. Though I wonder if in some part it's not a part of me that wants to take revenge for how deeply he hurt me at Hood River
That's
last year.
voodoo. That's
Just
voodoo.
kicking my butt.
Voodoo. Oh man.
Wow.
So Chris has
Tough.
not drawn well. AEIIIQS. I will go out on a limb and say that. And EEEFIUV for Brad. Do we just
Wow.
exchange?
Well, I mean, I see a clear play. I mean, you see the F, you see the V, you see the E on
Oh
your
yeah,
rack.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're gonna want to play, through another consonant, maybe five, maybe fauve in this case would be 30 points. I feel like that's one of those high fives that you see and that come up often enough in games that you're able to spot them pretty much immediately and get them down. I think in this case, it's just a matter of seeing the spot. So of seeing that there's an A on the board that can be played through.
Yeah, FAUVE for 30 is rock solid. If you exchange here, you should walk away from Scrabble. Ignore my previous suggestion. Fauve is awesome. Great play. FEU up top is a really nice play too. FEU on that top triple, making EE and MU is 24. EEIV with an N and an L in space is actually a pretty solid leave. Worse things could happen than FEU, but Fauve is nice.
I mean, you're right. That's a good point. FEU, I think, has the benefits of taking out that triple. Not that, I mean, I don't think it's that huge of a of a threat right now, but it's nice to use that up, get a few points, and it leaves you at least one continent to play with next time. And I think that can definitely be something to consider over time. I like Fauve. I feel like it's just so many points, but few Fauve could go either way. You definitely want to get rid of the F. You definitely want to get rid of the E. And I think Brad's going to do that pretty soon. I'd like to see him hit his clock sooner rather than later, though, because I mean, the distinction between how much time that they're taking is, I mean, it might matter in the end game if the game continues to be as close as it right now.
A great point. We'll see how much more time Brad commits to this turn. Fove, FEU. I could see some players playing FIVE and ED on this turn as well. I think some players just so eager to shed Vs, but the U is also just a lot of trouble here. You can keep the V, but don't keep the U.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Fees. I hadn't considered that. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like it's not as great of a leave. I mean, you really do not want those V and U tiles together. Like, yes, you possibly have the IE combination to bail you out, but not like Fauve would have bailed you out. I wonder if this is just a miss, like just didn't see the spot.
Yeah, we'll see if that UV combination causes trouble in the future for Brad, but if he might draw quivers or something, who knows? No, the Q's out. All right. AEIS from Chris plus the IIQ that Nits cursed upon him. IQ
Hey,
coming down now on the board. No brainer play for Chris. And let's see. EIUV goes south a lot. AEO. There it is. South. I
you
did
know,
it. I did it. I just lectured you on this, Nits, and then I did it.
I don't know. Like I feel like Chris kind of played like a little too quickly. I mean, maybe it's worth dumping the S here. Maybe it's worth dumping the S for QIS for 35 and hadrons. Maybe just QIN to the N in hadron. I mean, QI is fine, I guess. I mean, okay. Like
QIN
I'll take it.
setting up the I underneath is a little bit sneaky, but just play QI. And then draw
Yeah, I mean,
CW and then put your head in your hands exactly like he's doing right now. Okay.
oof.
Nobody's having fun today. Brad is not having fun. Lipe is not having fun. I'm having fun though. Are you having fun, Nits?
I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you for asking.
Good.
It does suck that these players are drawing tiles that we do not want to see. But you know what? I think it's a great teaching moment because there's so often when we're in tournaments and we get horrific tiles and we don't know what to do with them. And in this case, I think commentary and being able to see these players, top players at this level, deal with these racks is a wonderful moment to learn, hey, what should I do when this happens to me? And can we normalize and see like how do expert level players handle this when they do also come across it's not the case that we're the only ones drawing vowels and only drawing consonants, like they deal with it too, and we can learn from them on how to come out of this, the other side with fewer vowels hopefully.
Imagine Brad's feelings right now. If Chris guffawed at his CW rack, Brad would look at his ridiculous rack and be like, come on, man. But likewise, exactly the opposite would happen. Everybody gets bad racks sometimes, and often at the same time as their opponent. We just muck through and smile at the end. I hope somebody goes home a victor, even if we all draw garbage.
This is a tough turn. So did you see if Brad had picked up a tile, what tile that was? Okay, so we're gonna see
Yeah.
something through.
Illuvia. He's not going to
Interesting.
play Illuvier, right? That's a phony. That's a famous one. Just Illuvia. Nice. This is
All
solid. This is
right.
really solid from Brad.
Okay, good. Okay, I think maybe Avur through the R of diastral would have been slightly better, keeping IE instead of EO. But you know what? This is this is a good play. It's good that he's gotten these tiles out of his way, and a great find on his end.
Yeah, thumbs up from this guy. Chris, I think, is going to play Iwi from the I and Harry here. Not a lot of great stuff to do. He can also play Iwi and IN next to Hadron, but I think ACEIS is quite bingo prone.
What about just WAI to the side of Illuvia now? What about that for 19 points instead of EV for 21? I feel like maybe CEIS is a slightly better lead.
That play is just so aggressive, and I don't know that that level of aggression in this situation is warranted. You're down 5, you're on turn, you're likely to bingo in the next 1 to 2 turns. You're the overdog. That opens things wide open. It's a stylistic decision for sure. It's not one I'd ever make. This is great. This is good from Chris.
Interesting, interesting. I feel like I would have gone with WAI. I feel like I'm so much more likely to bingo at that point that I'm gonna go ahead and eat it. But I think this is a good decision on his part anyway. There's like nothing really to harp on, even though I like to. And oh wow, a lot of O's for Brad. We do not like to see that. I know you were already mentioning that you don't want to keep an O on your rack, but when you've got so many, holy, I think just getting two off your rack is, I think, the best you can do at this point. Do you think Brad should just dump off OO to the side of Vrao, maybe?
Oh man, it was just a killer draw. Nobody's gonna draw anything fun this game, I think. Aeoors. You've got to just drop two O's somewhere, I think. But
Right. I mean, to the side of Rao, maybe, or making OOH. Ooh, I don't know. This is tough. It's just ooh or OO.
oh, I would legalize OO. I'd be the first one to play it on stream. Probably hasn't been played yet, so just I would play it for 8, even though tactically it's terrible. Like legalize OO, play it.
I mean, for a content play, that'd be incredible. I'm glad that Brad has identified
Yeah, this one's better
his best one
strategically.
here. Yes, good for him. I mean, tough that he's drawing this way, but at least he knows so far Chris is also somewhat struggling. And Chris has himself a nice fancy little J that he's going to be able to take off of his rack and score, above 25 points in a few places. So I think maybe something like Hefe through the EF that's on the board up there might be awesome. Very, very dangerous. Would be really cool. Or maybe just Jin and Jaw.
Do you see what I did? Do you see how I lamented how their bad draws were? They immediately started drawing bingos. We have power, Nits.
Okay,
These
we
headsets
do
have
we do have
power.
power. I need to
Oh,
start. Yeah, I need to start also complaining about the draws. Give them some really nice bingo bongos.
yep,
Maybe we
yep.
could see like a really cool triple triple with like an X and a Z or something.
Hefe is a really cool play. I'm glad you brought that up. It opens this crazy line on the top of the board that's likely not going to be obstructed. It keeps CAINS, which is not perhaps the most leave, but look at what's going to synergize with it. In that pool, a lot of E's, a lot of O's, and a lot of T's, and that seems to be what would synergize the best with ACINS. So Hefe is a really cool play, crushing the computer sim as well. It is a gutsy one, but
Right.
Chris plays with a lot of guts.
And it's gonna be, I mean, it's gonna be hit back. I mean, he can't know that, but he's gonna be hit back really hard with Voraces. I mean, maybe he wants to be a little bit more uh, maybe he just wants to play jaw. I mean, we saw with his play of Iwi that he was a little bit more defensive as opposed to something like Y, which would have been a little bit more aggressive. So perhaps maybe he is going to do jaw. Maybe he doesn't want to take the risk. Right now the scores are even, and maybe he doesn't want to the tilt the scales right now.
Always tough to decide when to play offense versus defense. And I mean, the game score dictates some of that, but when the game score is close, what do you do? Chris is going to play JA. I mean, CEINS is going to bingo more often than CAINS. And Hefe has, the drawbacks that obviously glare out with it. Interesting turn. This is a perfectly respectable yaw from Chris and Brad. Now, a little word knowledge check. Make sure you know bore aces. It is a weird, it's not a 6. It is just the plural of borax, Borax. So if anybody ever plays bore ace, challenge it. But bore aces is good.
Good
Brad,
tip.
you know it? Let's find out.
I love that, like sometimes learning the meanings of these words, which seem so out there, they seem so insane. I think it can really help your game sometimes because it helps you remember the word, helps you remember, the hooks, helps you remember if it's a sticky S. In this case, as you mentioned, race is not a word. The sticky S would be really helpful to know. I hope that Brad is able to put this down relatively quickly and we can see some cool 86 points on the board.
Big turn. Big turn. I mean, this is a rack I think anybody who's done some anagrams recognizes, but this is also one where I could see a number of other things being possible solutions. Brad is being put to the test on stream, and it's right before lunch too. So that's always when I play my worst. We'll see.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
look at Chris's draw.
He's gonna bingo
CEINSC.
back if Boris comes down with Jar. If oh wow, that's gonna be that's gonna be so awesome to see. Just like trading bingos, nice and even. We love to see games like this. We love to see the battle till the end. But I see that Brad is picking up one tile, so maybe he's trying to find a six-letter word that he feels would be good. I hope he, shuffles his tiles. I hope he just like runs into braces. I hope there's this Eureka moment. I think that would be so fun to see. Otherwise, if it doesn't come down and that JA lane stays unobstructed, well, then we might see Chris play Cyanizes under, making JAY. Now, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I mean, Chris is a
Oh,
bunch of
sorry,
yeah.
not
I,
Cyanizes. My bad. I know words.
he'll threaten coziness through an S. He has D Zinks already on his rack as a 7, and that plays alongside Illuvia. Like Chris is going to score mammoth points next turns. It's up to Brad to score mammoth points
Absolutely.
this turn. He has the opportunity, but he's got to know the word. It's tough.
Oh boy,
754 and counting for Brad. Huge turn. Huge
this is
turn.
tough. This is tough. I really want to see him shuffle his tiles. I really, because I mean, I think that, even if you don't see a bingo immediately, sometimes shuffling your tiles, you kind of accidentally run into a bingo and you see a word that you're like, oh, I didn't think this would be here. I do think that quite a lot of the battle is, as chat has mentioned, remembering that something is not a word.
Here it
Oh,
is. Here
he's
it is.
found
All
it. There
right.
we
All
go.
right.
There we
Yeah.
go.
And
We
it's
need
also possible he saw this 5 minutes ago. We were trashing him, and he was just trying to pick placement. But way to go, Brad. You passed the
right. Or
test.
maybe like he wasn't sure if it was a word because, it's a sticky S, trying to remember if Boreas was a word. And I think that can really complicate, it can complicate it because if you're like, oh, I don't think Boreas is a 6, why do I think it would take an S? Absolutely, it adds to the drama of it, at least for us.
Yeah, drama indeed. Races, we thought Brad might miss it for a second. Nope, he crushed it. And now Chris put to the test. And Chris with a really tough turn here. D Zinks plays as a bingo alongside Illuvia for 90. That play is not winning a simulation right now.
Interesting.
Not bingoing and playing Zebu through the B and Races for 72, keeping that S in tow. That is simulating ahead of D Zinks right now. I don't know how I feel about that. Would you bingo here, Nits?
Oh my gosh. You know what? From the school of Matthew O'Connor, I would say go ahead, play Zebu. I think get those points. CINS is such a good leave. There is a strong chance that you might be able to bingo after this. I mean, I know D6 is 90 points. I would struggle. I would really, really struggle here. I would struggle. But I think Zebu is, man, such a good leave. I don't know. I don't even know what to prioritize here, right? Like, I mean, D-Zinx is 90 points in, like it's under your belt and you get to move on. But you could still bingo after Zebu. You could play like CI, you could get something with CINS.
I'm strangely drawn to SEZ for 48 on top of Harry. That puts a huge bingo line out in space. If I draw pretty much any bingo that hits that S, I'm going to score 90. I've got the other spot next to Illuvia. I've got the spot underneath Boraces. I'm going to score. I'm going to run a simulation on this. How much do you score on average after SEZ? It's got to be like infinity. But you're leaving so much on the table. After SEZ, you score 74 on average next turn. But after just bingoing, you scored 38 or so. Uh,
You know what? Now that I think about it, I really like Zebu. I really like Zebu. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's nice to get these inks down for 90 points, but like after Zebu, the chances of you scoring highly, the chances of you bingoing are so high that, you know, I'd say, I'd say screw it. Just play Zebu. Just like kind of, I'd say just tempt the tile gods a little bit there.
Big turn. I don't know that there's a right answer or a wrong answer. D Zinks is definitely a very high scoring answer, and Chris now leads 294 to 259 after the 90-point bingo. A bad post bingo draw for Brad. So we got a little firepower and back to the bad draws here. ADEOTUU puts him behind here in his attempt to catch up. Chris, we'll see what he draws. There's still some unwieldy stuff in this pool, but also a lot of goodies.
We should just say that he's going to draw really poorly, and that way he'll just draw like a miracle blank that doesn't exist, and he'll be good to go. In
Right.
this case, though, I think Brad, he really just has to get rid of at least one of those U's. So I know it's going to look a little fishy, but I think OU under Borisi's, I think is just the play here. I think it's 20 points, and you still have a relatively good leave. I think just statically, just OU is fine. I really don't I really don't feel like there's much of a reason to blow up this rack right now. It feels pretty balanced once you get rid of the U's and the O's. Well, like that one O. Maybe I can understand there could be a reasoning for playing doubt or dog through the B, but the leave is so much better with just OU, you know? I say just go with OU. It's 20 points. Go for it.
I don't think those one pointers are going to help you very much on this board. There's not great opportunity to bingo unless you backhook ID, and I think ADETU, you're not going to hit that spot very often. I'd be looking to play long here. I'd be doing what Brad's doing.
I mean, I feel like there's still places to play through. Like there's the end to play through, and then you can play under Boris's if it doesn't get taken up. And like you keep that E for IDE as you mentioned. I think it's probably okay, but okay. Doubt goes down. I don't know how I feel about that. Because yeah, because of the reasons I already mentioned. And it's up to Chris to deal with this X that he's got himself.
Yeah, this is an interesting turn. A little bit of a word knowledge check one more time in this game. Plexing, Plexing, plays through the N that Nits just noted was floating out in space, so you could crush it, but you have to be 100,000% sure that Plexing does not take an S if you're going to play that here, if you're Chris, because that's like the one way you lose the game is if you give up 100-point Plexings bingo. You've also got to be certain Plexing is a word, especially when you've got the bailout option of Yex, Y-E-X, and Jinx available.
Oh,
That's pretty sick too.
nice. Nice. That's a good spot right there. I think just Plex itself would also be fine, but so you could do Plex and EX of the E of Illuvia, a little bit more dangerous, but you know what? It's not, but it is like taking away that IDE spot. So maybe that would be fine. Plexing is just so good though. Like he really has to see this here. He really has to see this. But Yex was a really good find. I think maybe Pixel as well could be okay. We see that WO to the side of Rao. Maybe WAP and Pixel would be fine as well. It kind of like still puts that X in a spot that could be used up by his opponent. So maybe he's not as great. I think Plexing is just such a good play.
In a situation like this, where if you see Yex and Jinx, which is hard to spot on its own, versus something like Plexing, let's assume perfect knowledge here. Oh, you know what? Let's stop that tangent. Ilek's going to
Interesting.
come down here instead. That makes sense too, actually. Kind of not muck up this stuff at the bottom a little bit. But Plexing, I think, was the play. GP is not going to leave you a lot of flexibility next turn. A little bit of a missed opportunity there, but
I feel like maybe he was just being a little defensive. He just didn't want to be hit back with a terrible bingo there. But I mean, I understand. I understand the reasoning for this. And Yuke is just such a great play by Brad. I'm so glad he didn't take too much time on this. These are exactly the tiles he wanted to get rid of, and he played them beautifully for 42 points. Beautifully found. I'm so glad that he did that as quickly as he did. He really needs this time right now.
yeah, that was just the absolute play that Brad needed. Look, I got 41. I unduplicated my E's and shedded a U. I kept AELS. Like that's a huge swing in this game. Huge swing in this game. And another huge swing is coming on this turn for Chris. From an equity perspective, his best play is Betong, Bettong, through the N and D Zinks. That word does take a back S. And there's one unseen S to Chris, and we know here in the booth that it is on Brad's rack, and it'll bingo with Analyze for 1,000
Oh
points.
my
So
gosh.
Brad's going to win this game. All right,
Well,
wow.
what if Chris doesn't play Betong? I'm thinking, well, what if he plays BOTTS, bots, to the S of desyncs? Because that is also a really good spot for him to play. PEG is a relatively okay leave. I mean, you don't want to keep that G if you can help it, but you know that there's an S out. You know there's a chance to losing to that S, that unseen S. You're kind of trying to also think about what your opponent's moves have telegraphed to you here. I'm not sure. I mean, with doubt, I guess you can kind of.
Just play Analyze and IDE, and it's game over. Like, it doesn't matter what Chris does. Brad's draw was so good. Brad's just going to win.
That's also true. So you do have a great point there. I wonder though if Chris is going to be a little bit more defensive about here and just do bots instead of trying to
Yeah.
accidentally open up a lane where Analyze can come down.
Yeah, it's a tough turn from Chris's perspective, and I mean, it should try to break it down, assuming we don't know Brad's rack. It's so hard to be neutral, but yeah, bots makes a lot of sense, but
Oh,
this makes a lot of sense. Turn over 6 tiles and race to it, 50-50 coin flip almost.
there we go.
Betong the play. Brad's going to punish this so hard, and we're going to go eat some muffalettas.
Oh my gosh, he's going to get Analyzed down for 95 points. That is incredible. And I'm sure that Brad is going to see this pretty quickly. He's got less than 5 minutes on his clock and counting. He wants to get this down on the board, and he's going to pick. Oh, wow.
This empties the bag, though.
This
If Chris
empties the
draws a
bag.
bingo, it's going to play. Okay, Chris has a huge pull here. Chris has a huge pull
And
here.
if we look at the tiles, the unseen.
Brad's
Oh,
Brad's not going to hit his clock until he counts how many tiles are in the bag, and he's going to realize there's exactly 7. DMPT.
there's no way he's going to
Oh,
take the
done.
tiles
Yeah, done.
back, though. I
Oh,
mean, he's shown.
oh. Enjoy your lunch, Chris. Yikes.
Mhm. This is tough for Chris. I mean, that pool looked pretty good. That pool looked pretty good.
Wow, that went from advantage Chris to game over Brad in like 1 second.
Rough,
Whoa. Whoa, what a game. What a
rough.
game.
But I mean, sometimes like just really comes down to the draw, which is so annoying. You know, it's like you could have just drawn something or not drawn something, and at this point, yeah, I don't think Chris has a chance to win. Just tough.
Both players had things they could have done to make this game more likely to go in their outcome. But, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose in every single
Right.
game. And Brad draws routine natural out of the bag as Chris draws DG element
Oh
PT.
my gosh.
Sometimes it
Oh my
does come
gosh.
down to the draw.
So
but
he's got to block routine, right? So he's got to play through the U of Illuvia. I think
yeah,
that's his move here. He's got to block routine. Uh,
it's incredible. Voodoo.
damn.
Just another day in New Orleans.
Just another day in New Orleans.
I love this
I
tournament.
don't think a Scrabble tournament happens every day in New Orleans, but I get what you're saying.
Just another day at the Crescent City Cup, I should say.
So here's what's important, right? Like Chris has to go through his tile tracking, make sure that he's done it correctly, and make sure that, he's blocking his opponent's best out. He knows he's lost the game, but he also knows that he wants to save on his spread. He wants to make sure that he's not losing by a ridiculous amount. So I think Lump is going to go down. I think Gump would have been better, but Lump still accomplishes the same task of blocking routine. That's what he needs to do here. So Chris is not short on time, so I think he's fine to like take his time here and really make sure he's like dotted all his I's and crossed all his T's.
I think it was actually right for Brad to play Analyze and Ide, because if Chris did draw the rack that Brad drew, or Chris held a P, but he could draw like Poutine or something, Chris could have won the game. And after Analyze and Ide, it's like almost impossible for Chris.
Interesting.
Huh. All right. Well,
Interesting.
Chris wisely blocks routine. Well, y'all can simmer on that information. Good job, Chris. Did your best, but all those consonants at the end, just not going to do
really
it.
can't do much about that. So on to Brad, who can't play his routine. I think he's gonna regret that just a little bit. He's just gonna be a little sad that that bingo's not gonna come down, and now he's gonna have to find his best play. I think maybe he's gonna look for. Is there an out in two? Because I mean, I don't think Chris can go out next turn, right? So like, maybe he could just play. Maybe he could just play something like a one WON and Knight NITE through the T of Betongs. Maybe that would be a good play that still leaves him. Is Niter a word? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Niter. So I think like Taurus and Niter. So then he saves himself Taurus and Niter.
Yeah, that's the
That'd be
optimal
nice.
end game. We'll see
kinda cool.
if he wants to take the time and do that. I'd just be trying to go get a muffaletta and celebrate this big win on the stream. But
I feel like you've said muffaletta at least 10 times now, and now I have to learn how to spell it.
you got Ziziva open. Give it a couple tries.
you know
I'll
what
judge
I've
you and
heard?
watch.
I've heard that muffaletta is not good in the Collins lexicon. So you know what? I'm not even going to try.
I'm really sad now. That's not valid in the Collins lexicon. Well, everything we love is a lie anyway.
Oh my God. Not in New Orleans. First of all, New Orleans is the place of dreams and fun. So don't let Matt convince you that this is not, okay?
Oh, this has been fun.
The swamp ghosts love us, I promise.
Oh my God, what's going to happen at the swamp tonight? If you're not here, you'll never find out. What happens in New Orleans stays in New Orleans, and what happens at the swamp stays at the swamp. I'm going to stop talking about the swamp now.
I've never been to Las Vegas. I actually want to know if what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Because last time when people went to Vegas, they all got COVID and they brought it back, So it
fair
did not
point.
stay in Vegas.
Fair point. Very good. Yeah. Well, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except the virus is.
All right, Brad. What is he eyeing? Is he eyeing EO? Interesting.
I want to give some thank yous. I'm not going to break down an end game in a game that's decided, and there's so many people who deserve thank yous for this Crescent City Cup. So pardon me, Nits, I'm just taking over here. Everybody needs to give a round of applause, a pat on the back, a virtual shout out, or a Facebook like to the team who puts together the Crescent City Cup. Lindsay and Austin Shin, Lila Cruddy, Kate and Tim Fukawa Connolly, and our streaming team, Andrew and Christian, are so incredible. People always come up to the commentators and try to give us credit, but we do very, very little. I mean, Nits, you're doing some good work for sure, but like they
Thanks.
put all of this together. They make this thing run, and this tournament is bigger and better than ever this year. 146 players playing in New Orleans. Big thank you to everybody who does that. Anybody you want to thank, Nits?
Well, Matt, I really want to thank you for being here. It's always fun to commentate with you. I'm glad that we get to do this. Of course, Christian, Andrew, the Shin family, Lila Crotty, you guys have done so much. I want to thank Wigpo and Coco for making this happen. I want to thank Bob Lynn for his incentives for new to Collins players. The reason why we're seeing so many people who are turning to Collins and realizing it's actually not a scary lexicon, and especially at the intermediate level, the new to Collins level, you can just learn like 13 new twos and about like a few hundred more threes, and you will still do incredibly well. You'll still be the same or equal to the same rating that you were in NWL. So thank you, Bob Lynn, for showing us that that's possible and taking us to a place of, like a united lexicon. I love this. Thank you to everyone who's helped put this stream together and to everyone who's in the comments right now who's watching, and thank you for all your all your suggestions, for all of your insights and your creativity. We love to keep interacting with you guys. Please stick around. We've got an incredible final with the school Scrabble coming up, so don't go anywhere. We're just gonna have so much more Scrabble and fun for you guys today.
Yeah, man, the Bob Lynn money for Collins is huge in Scrabble. Bob donated a lot of money. Wigpo and the efforts of John Shreve have done so much to help Scrabble stay big. The Coco and Wigpo together joined to sponsor the Crescent City Cup. And man, there's just so many people to thank who put Scrabble together. But at least we got the biggest and most important names out of the way. I'm sure I'll think of more tonight while my thoughts spin. But such a great team at the Crescent City Cup. They do such a good job every single year. And if you haven't been to one, you really need to come to one and eat some king cake and have some muffalettas and all that. Very good. Chris found Dement. This is his best play. And,
Wow.
I would have given up like hours ago, but very good. Nice.
That's incredible. That's wow. That's a hard word to find. Well, I mean, it's a common word, but it's a hard play to find when, that you're losing, that you just have just confidence to play off. It's just really well done on his part.
Yeah, and Brad's going to go out OE. That's going to make the final in this game 460 for Brad, 386 for Lipe. But what a fun game, back and forwards the whole time. We'll try overhead mic for just a minute, see if we get a post-mortem here.
Do I get 460? You get 386? Yeah.
Hold on.
Thanks. My trials were a lot better than yours at the end.
Yeah. I figure if you have the S, you have this lane, and there's nothing you can do about it, so you may as well draw 6 tiles.
Yeah.
Okay. My other one was a P, like this was just really couldn't see kind of useful.
No, I did. I was just yeah, I drew the S after doubt, so that was pretty lucky.
I drew the S after doubt. That was pretty lucky. But in Scrabble, you make your own luck. If he had played 2 tiles instead of 4, if he had played OU, maybe he never sees that S. Maybe he loses the game. I don't know. In Scrabble, you never know. We're going to cut away from the board as the players get the paperwork done. This is just 4 of 20 games from New Orleans. The Crescent City Cup is going to run all day today, all day tomorrow and into Monday. 4 games on Monday morning before we wind it all down. Apparently, we're not going to cut back over to us, so I apologize for that. We'll figure out what we're doing in just a second. Oh, now we get the post-mortem. Oh, well. I don't always get my transitions right now, do I, Nits?
That's okay. We are a team. It takes a village to get this working, and I'm so glad that you guys are still here with us.
I did not
We
put
are,
overwritten, which is good.
it's just a
Oh,
little
that's that was
rundown
good
of
on
what's
your
going to
part.
happen.
Yeah.
We're going to see the schools, the kids finale, and then we'll be back for 4 more games this afternoon. We are going to be streaming the WoW lexicon, so we are going to be switching lexicons. We're going to see a whole new set of faces, and I don't know, maybe you're rooting for some of them, so you're going to have to let us know in the chat who you want to see come out on top, who you'd like to see on stream. I think it'd be really nice to have a whole, great set of faces to commentate on.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. We'll have that in a few minutes. Once we figure out all the details and the stellar commentary team we're gonna put together. Again, thanks for joining us. We appreciate every single one of you who is tuned in. Y'all are the real MVPs of Scrabble. Matt Canik and Nits Chagti here. Nits, final thoughts before we cut for a little lunch break?
Well, I hope you guys make it to NOLA next year, and I hope you guys enjoy as many shrimp po' boys as I am, because this is the life.
Shrimp
Love
po'
to see you
boy.
guys.
Oh man, I'm even hungrier now. All right, we're gonna wind it down for there. We're gonna go increase our blood sugar. We'll see all of y'all on the other side of this lunch break and enjoy some school Scrabble in the interim. Adios.